And let's talk about yesterday in spring training activity yesterday, Cactus League play. We'd been waiting. We'd been awaiting the first game started by Kumar Rocker, and Jeff, he only made one inning, 4 runs, 4 hits, 1 strikeout. It was swinging, but he didn't have a great first outing.
No, and that's all right. The first outing. These guys generally aren't judged on their first outing or their second outing in some cases for starting pitchers, but at some point they're going to be judged, and we'll see how he rebounds. That'll be important. What adjustments did he make? Was there something particularly not good that he could easily fix? Because they do through bullpen sessions still in spring training, getting ahead of their starts, still trying to build up the arm strength and all that stuff. So we'll see how he rebounds, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. He's going to be a good starting pitcher. The question then becomes, well, where is he going to start? And he is competing for a spot in the rotation, but it really, and I've felt this way for a while, that Cody Bradford's going to be that guy. So I always say we'll see how it plays itself out, and we will, but I don't think that the Rangers are going to hold this against him.
Sure.
And then it's that second and third one that he'll have to show a little something to get going.
Yeah, and look, that said, these guys are all competitors, and I'm sure that Kumar, he's not super experienced with these sort of spring training warm-up games at this juncture. He hasn't been around the pro game for that long, so it probably got at him. But if you listen to his post-game comments that were shared with us by Victory, our friends over at Victory, you hear that he has learned and or been trained to keep this in perspective. Here's Kumar.
Yeah, if I have the opportunity to make the team, that'd be great. If not, prepare myself to pitch a long part of this season, contribute in some kind of way in early stages of it, but I feel really good. It's what you sign up for, and you got to go out there and you got to perform, and everyone has their stages on how they get there, and I'm in the early stages, and I feel good. I'm excited to perform and even have a chance.
Yeah, so, saying the right things and believing them, I think. It's not these aren't just hollow words. He may, again, they're all competitive. He may be feeling a little, by the same token, he knows that this one start means almost nothing in the big picture scheme of things.
Right, and every pitcher has a different process, and sometimes the process takes a while. I remember Zach Greinke being just awful in spring training for the Royals there. My first couple of years on the beat, and then his last start, he 7 shutout innings. He just had it figured out. And there have been pitchers who have come to the Rangers as free agents or trades, and early on they'll say, "Look, I'm just going to tell you, I'm terrible in spring training." Knowing that in past stops, people have seen his spring performances and been like, "Oh my God, what are we doing signing this guy?" Or "What are we going to do with him?" And everything's come out in the wash just fine. So, but it is different for Kumar in that he is a rookie and he has the expectations, and people have predicted he could be a Rookie of the Year candidate, and he still could be even if he doesn't start the year in the majors. Paul Skeens last year, Rookie of the Year in the National League, started in the minors. So don't be surprised, and I've been saying it for a while, if Rocker starts in the minors. He's got 11 2/3 big league innings in his career. Those 3 starts weren't great. And so anyway, he is inexperienced. But to your point about the polish, I mean, he's been in the spotlight since he was a high school senior.
Yep.
And then to Vanderbilt, where he's awesome as a freshman, and then COVID happened, and then 21 was a tough year for him in terms of the draft and having to go back into the draft when the Mets didn't sign him. His dad is a NFL football coach, so he probably has been schooled on the right things to say, but also has perspective. I'm sure his dad's had to make some tough cuts in his lifetime, and or been part of them. And Kumar Rocker's future is in the Rangers rotation. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, and it's funny when you were mentioning that about all his pedigree and his past. How many players in any sport, and baseball's really one of the few actually where you can get drafted, in multiple years, right? You can get drafted right out of high school, and then, of course, after a couple of years in college or however that works. He was a first-round draft pick twice.
Yeah.
There can't be very many that have been first-round draft picks twice.
Right. And he would have been a first-round pick coming out of high school, except he was really committed to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And hey, don't forget about the Vanderbilt education, too. Those Vandy guys always seem a little bit more polished and able to communicate better. And but yeah, the spotlight's been on him, and he's hard to miss. He's so big.
Yeah.
He's going to draw attention no matter what role he's in. And I know there were some people yesterday who were saying, oh, he should be a closer. Not this year, not yet. He probably would be really good at that job, but he has a chance to be an excellent starting pitcher. And just, the finances of the game, you gotta let that one play itself out, kind of like you do have to do it lighter. So yeah, just kind of, I'm sure he went to bed last night or took a shower, let it roll down the drain, and back at it today.
Yeah, it was Banny, wasn't it, that said wash it off? Just wash that one off.
Yeah, and Wash used to say that one too.
Did Wash say that too?
Yeah,
okay, I couldn't remember. Yeah.
So
anyway, he'll be fine. And the reality is, as far as that move him to closer types, thought or talk right now. Look, he has no interest in moving to closer right now. None of these guys do, because the reality is, at this point in the game, you can still get $40 or $50 million a year as a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
And there is not a closer in the world that's ever going to get that.
No. And, starting, you're in control of the game. 5 days a week, the ball's in your hand every play as long as you're in there. And you can carry your team and put them in a position. And, I just, I don't understand why people are so quick to give up on prospects either. And you talk about Jack Leiter, 2021 draft, that was 4 years ago, but he's only in his fourth professional season, and he went to the big leagues in his third professional season. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's faster than a lot of guys get there. So don't give up on these guys. Everybody comes at their own pace. And so, it's just their pace may not meet expectations of a number 2 draft pick, or a number 2 overall pick, or a number 3 overall pick, as Rocker was, but they're coming. And when they do, there's going to be opportunities this year, and maybe breaking camp on the roster, or filling as a spot starter, or when somebody gets hurt, or just being so good that you replace somebody in the rotation. All these things are possible, and then next year the Rangers could have to replace 2 starting pitchers. And so there are 2 opportunities right there. And, depending on what the Rangers' needs are, depending on who's available in free agency, they may want to say, all right, it's time for our young guys. We need to invest elsewhere.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's the future, right? That's Kumar Rocker. That's Jack Leiter. And again, in the case of Leiter, we still do believe, and he's still competing, as we mentioned the other day. He came out firing in his first spring training outing. But he's still pitching in an attempt to make the starting rotation this year. And if he becomes a bullpen piece, again, in this scenario, that doesn't destine him to bullpen activity for the rest of his career.
Exactly.
Again, if they made him the closer this year, maybe it would. But if he's in that Dane Dunning, sort of one of those other bridge guys, the guy that's going to be used for piggybacking, a guy that's going to be used in a more long role, he'd easily be able to stretch out even this year, and certainly for future seasons, to be a starter again.
Oh, yeah. Derek Holland made his major league debut as a reliever. And Derek was a pretty good pitcher there on some pretty good Rangers teams. C.J. Wilson was a reliever who became a starter. Yeah. So, it's not impossible, and these roles aren't settled. And you look at across baseball, you're seeing relievers who are turning into starters. Clay Holmes, that's the one. Clay Holmes, and last year the Giants did it with the kid from the Cardinals Hicks, who can throw it through a brick wall. It happens. You try to maximize value of what you have, and I just think that anybody who gives up on a guy this soon is doesn't really understand that development can take time from player to player, and at some point it'll click. And then if it doesn't click, okay, then you can make changes. But it looks like it's clicking for these guys.
Also got to see Emiliano Teodo and Winston Santos yesterday, and both, again, you really can't make too much of their outings because, even the manager doesn't want to. When Bruce Bochy was asked about each of their performances afterwards, it was more like, yeah, look good. Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of stock put in it. It's nice, though, to put them in that fire and just see how they respond.
I think you kind of look at that more right now than you do the stuff.
Sure.
How do they feel coming into a game against a team? I know it's spring training, but the Royals are destroying the ball right now. They're just smoking it out. They're 4-0, I think. So they're really good. And these are games that these guys have maybe been in as a just in case guys, but not as members of the 40-man roster. So yeah, you want to see how they handle it. And Santos, pitched 2/3 of an inning. I believe he came in relief, which is not something he does.
No.
So you kind of look at how they handle the situation and how cool they are, and they'll get other opportunities here the rest of camp before minor league camp starts, and some decisions are made on if they need to go be reassigned to minor league camp and start working on their getting on their routine and get ready for their AAA season or AA season, wherever it may be. So that's good to see. The Rangers had 12 pitchers yesterday, John. I'm glad I wasn't there for that. Good Lord.
12
pitchers.
In a 9-inning game? In one game? Wasn't a split squad.
12 pitchers.
Good heavens. That's why Santos only ends up with 2/3, right?
Yeah.
All right, you're done. Get out of here. Go. Yeah. Hit showers. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We all silly like the mayor.